Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to show how to make these fun melting snowman cupcake toppers. So here's what we're going to make, and he's made out of the modelling paste, which I'll leave a link to in the description. Okay, so firstly we're going to make the body, and I've got 30 grams of the modelling paste that I've kneaded till pliable and then I'm forming into a ball shape, which you can see here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flatten it slightly. Still keep it quite thick, just to the size I want. And now I'm just using the end of my rolling pin just to press in there and to make a nice kind of curved divot inside it. There you go, hope you can see that there. Okay, so now I'm just going to mark 2 holes with the small end of my ball tool, and these are for the buttons. So what I'm going to use for the buttons are 4mm black sugar pearls. You could use black fondant or modelling paste if you want, but I thought these look a bit more like charcoal. So I'm just adding a little bit of clear alcohol, or you could use an edible glue, pop them into the holes you made and secure with the ball tool. And there we go. Okay, so now we're going to make the scarf, and I've got about 8 grams of blue modelling paste, which I've coloured with Colour Mill Aqua Blend. Again, everything will be in the description, so you can take a closer look later. So I've formed it into a ball. I'm just going to flatten it slightly. Again, I'm using the end of my rolling pin just to create that divot inside there. And then I'm just going to stick this into the hole or the divot that we made on the body. So I'm just checking that for size, and then I'm just going to press that into position. You can use a bit of edible glue if you need to secure. So I'm just going to help secure that with my ball tool. And now I've just got some more of the blue modelling paste, knead to pliable, form it into a tube and then roll it out. You want it to be a couple of millimeters thick. This is the extra part of the scarf. So I'm just going to trim that with a knife. You can make it as thick as you like. I also made it quite long so it trailed down. Again, that's up to you. So I'm just checking for the length that I want and make sure it's the width that I want. So I'm just going to trim that to the length. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my knife just to come in and just to create the little tassels at the end there. And if you do find this tutorial useful, please do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thank you. Okay, so there you can see the scarf forming. And trim that bit off. Alright then, so there you can see I've got my tassels. So again, I'm just going to check that that's okay for size. And then because that kind of goes over the lip there, where the head's going to go, I'm just going to use a tool, I'm just going to use my bone tool just to flatten it, just so there's room for that head to go in that divot we made. It'll make sense in a little while, I promise. A little bit of clear alcohol or edible glue, and then just stick that into position. Don't stick it all the way down, just stick it in the top there, and you'll see why in a minute, why we don't stick it all the way down just yet. Okay, so now we're going to crack on making the head. So I have 15 grams of the white modelling paste that I'm kneading till pliable, and then I'm going to form it into a ball shape. Okay, so before I do anything else, I am just going to check the size, and that looks good. And now I'm going to use my ball tool again to mark 2 little eye holes. And then in the middle there, just a little bit lower, another hole for the carrot. Okay. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the same black sugar pearls that I used for the buttons into the eye holes. And there we go. So again, I'm just going to secure them with my ball tool. And next we're going to make his smile. And to do this, I'm using 1mm black sugar pearls. But firstly, I've got my cocktail stick. I'm just going to mark where the first sugar pearl is going to go underneath the nose. This will give you a little base just to pop your little sugar pearl on top and then push in with your ball tool. Okay, so you want to push it right in just so it's secure, and then you can mark where you want your next one to go. So I've done the next 2 there. So I'm just going to pop them into position and then press them down. There we go, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. If you did struggle to stick them in, you could add a little bit of clear alcohol or edible glue, but you probably want to put it on the end of like your toothpick just so it's nice and fine and you're not going to leave glue all over the face. And there we go, there's his little smile. Okay, so now I'm just going to stick that into position in the little divot of the scarf. And now because he is like a melting snowman, we can squash it down a little bit. I think that just adds to the model and the effect that we're trying to achieve. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to further model the scarf, and I've just got my bone tool and I'm just going to go around and create like a little divot in the middle of the scarf, and that'll squash it and make it also go up the head and down the body. So we'll make it look more like a scarf, and this is why we didn't stick the rest of the scarf down, because we want to go under there. That makes it a lot easier to do that. And you can see we're getting the texture to make it look more like a scarf. So I'm just going to go all the way around with my bone tool until I'm happy with how it looks. So I'm also going to add a little bit of texture to the top of the scarf there as well. Okay. So once I'm happy with the scarf, I'm going to make the carrot nose, and I've got a small ball of orange modelling paste that I'm forming into a cone shape, which you can see here. And then I'm just going to use my cocktail stick just to make some little grooves in the carrot so it looks more like a real carrot. Hope you can see that there. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of clear alcohol into that nose hole we made, and I'm just going to pop it in there. If you don't think it's big enough, just make the hole a little bit bigger. But you can tweak your carrot so it points up, down, sideways, and just give your snowman its own character. And there we go. Okay, so I decided to add a little bit of pink blush to the cheeks. And I do this by putting a bit of the pink blush edible dust onto a kitchen towel, and then I dust off the excess on my dusting brush first, because you can put too much on, and then you just gently build up the cheeks. And there we go. As I said, make sure you take off as much as you can to begin with, because you don't want to put too much on. It's hard to take off. So that's your snowman made. And I'm just going to show you what piping tip I used to make the melted snow effect. So I used a Wilton 2A large round piping tip. And you can see you just pipe a swell starting from the middle and going all the way out to the edge of your cupcake. I think it just looks like melted snow. And then you just pop your snowman on top. The good thing about the piping is it doesn't need to be perfect because it's supposed to be melted snow. So lastly, I just added a little bit of finishing sparkle all over so my snowman glistened. I'm afraid you can't really see that well in the camera, but it does look really good in real life. Okay, so that is your snowman made. You'll find more information about this tutorial in the description. Please do check out my other tutorials. Please comment, like and subscribe for more, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching.